Our Hawaii group enjoying the comfort of first-class rail luxury. Check out this Swiss train. Little snack car comes rolling down the aisle, bringing cookies and coffee and sandwiches with great scenery going out the window there. Of course, it's hard to pick the favorite place when each city we're visiting is so interesting in itself. At the end of the trip, most people generally agree that all of the places were interesting to visit. The one place that surprisingly stands out is Lucerne, where we're heading now, because it's so clean and green and peaceful, as you'll see. This little church on top of the hill, surrounded by a village, is a quirk. We go by it 3 times on the train trip. Once on the left side of the train, and then we emerge from a tunnel and it's on the right side of the train, and then we go into another tunnel, and once again, it's on the left side of the train. It's a fun sight. And then we'll see it again out the right window, even though it's on the left side of the train that time. It's quite a remarkable phenomenon, and what happens is the train goes into a tunnel at that point and spirals around and comes out the tunnel to lose altitude. Then it goes into another tunnel, spirals around, and so on to lose altitude. And each time it comes out of the tunnel, we see that church on a different side of the train. Sounds a little confusing, doesn't it? It's all part of the fun. Our groups from Hawaii always get along like one big family. And then we arrive at our destination, which is Lucerne in the heart of Switzerland. It's just a charming cobblestone town, especially the old town where the hotel is located along the banks of the river. There's some little mini shopping malls. The heart of the old town is a pedestrian zone with wooden bridges and cobblestone lanes and lined with shops and banners, and really a festive, wonderful place. And just simply stroll through the old town. It's one of the real charming cities of Switzerland. Some of these buildings date back 400 years, but of course they're all very well preserved and beautifully taken care of. After all, this is Switzerland. Everything works in this country. Everything is efficient. It's clean. It's a delightful spot to visit. There's all kinds of stores, department stores, chocolate shops, jewelry shops, cuckoo clocks, things to buy. You can even get some good deals on clothing here. Summer clothing is always discounted by the time we get here in June. Or if you're on our spring or fall trip, there's other seasonal delights to enjoy. Now, of course, you'll find a lot of places to eat in Lucerne, little sidewalk restaurants and such. And here was a lovely hideaway that we discovered on the top floor of the main department store right in the heart of town. They have this generous buffet, as you see. You just take what you want off of the buffet, and they'll weigh your plate and charge you accordingly. It's a pretty good value for the money. Oh, Switzerland is just the perfect vacation playground. It's got spectacular mountains and beautiful villages offering the best of nature and culture. There's art, there's music. The cute little towns are so quaint they almost look contrived, like some kind of a Disney version of Heidi's hometown. But this is the real thing. You'll discover cobblestone lanes for pedestrians winding past the ancient buildings that have the most modern shops inside, with everything spotlessly clean and well organized. It's a land of friendly people and efficiency and charm. You get the best of both worlds, old and new. But wear comfortable shoes and get ready for some walking if you want to explore it properly and see the beauties of this wonderland. Lucerne is certainly one of the world's cutest towns. It's on the picturesque lake, surrounded by the majestic mountains, and they truly have it all here. Lucerne is deservedly the most popular visitor destination in Switzerland, famous for the well-preserved old town that you see here, consisting of many blocks of medieval buildings richly decorated with painted murals. And here's a nice little cafe, Emilio. It's famous in Lucerne as a great place to come for tea and pastries in the afternoon. Another real famous store is Bucherer. It's a department store for watches and clocks and jewelry. It has about 5 floors of goodies for you. Temperatures are quite reasonable throughout the year, for Lucerne sits at an elevation of only 1,300 feet. Now, some of the nearby mountains do reach up to 10,000 feet, and they have snow-covered glaciers year-round, but the temperatures in town are quite comfortable even in the wintertime. The best time to visit is any time between April and October. There's a festive fountain in one of the numerous town squares. The old town is a comfortable size. It's about 10 blocks long and about 5 blocks wide. Here comes Junie and Nina. They succeeded in their shopping expedition, it looks like. Yes, okay, shopping, very good. Looking for cowbells and music boxes, other local goodies. The next morning we are up for a big day. Our hotel is the former city hall of town. It's a building nearly 500 years old, totally renovated, a Hotel de Valence. Highly decorated throughout, with one of the best breakfasts you'll ever find. A complete buffet, and they have usually got 6 different kinds of bread in the morning. Dark bread, light bread, all of it freshly baked the night before. Eggs, sausage, bacon, fruits, cheeses, yogurts, juices, great coffee. We have breakfast here, and you can easily have lunch and dinner at the hotel as well. It's one of the nicest spots to be. We've conducted our Rome to London tour that you're watching here about 30 times in the last 14 years, and this is the only hotel that we have stayed at every single trip. The other cities, there have been various changes and enhancements and improvements and what have you, but this is just the best spot, so we keep coming back to the Valence. And this breakfast spread is one of the many reasons for that, along with its great location on the water. The Valence Hotel, it's a very clean, modern interior, considering the building is about 400 years old. Most of the rooms have lovely views looking out across the river. And now we're taking the cute little local train, goes from Lucerne up to Engelberg. And from there, we'll take a cable car that'll bring us to the top of Mount Titlis, frolicking in the snowy glacier, coming right up. It's a comfortable train ride. It's first class once again, and the windows roll down. You get a nice view and some fresh air. And it just takes about 1 hour to go from Lucerne to Engelberg. Trains leave about every hour in the morning. And you go by Lake Lucerne. There's pretty scenery all the way, so keep your cameras ready. You can get up to Mount Titlis by tour bus, but as usual, we find it's a lot more pleasant to go by train. The scenery is among the most spectacular you'll find in all of central Switzerland. And then the scenery opens up with this vista of mountains and forests and glaciers up on the peaks. It's really a lovely ride. We're going from Lucerne to the town of Engelberg. As we go by some of the typical chalets, you find this kind of housing all over the countryside of Switzerland. We're going up to one of the most beautiful glaciers in all of Switzerland. Traveling just doesn't get much better than this. And along the way we have fun on the train. When it goes up a very steep hill, it becomes a rack railway, and you can actually lean over, almost touching your toes, touching the floor. And this is a steeper part of the tracks where simple friction on the wheels can't pull you up, so you go on what's called the rack, and that's a gear underneath the train that digs into some teeth in the rail bed, and it pulls you up the hill on a rack. Each train takes its turn. The rack is just a single track. Then we level off and get to Engelberg, end of the line. everybody out and walk a few hundred yards from the train station with the majestic peaks towering all around us over to the cable car. And you're in the hands of the Swiss engineers with their precision gears and cable cars. We'll be rising in elevation from 3,500 feet at Engelberg all the way up to 10,000 feet at the top of the mountain. And to get there, we take 3 different cable cars. The first one you see is a 4-passenger car with Swiss engineering. Very safe and comfortable, and we get a great view looking out the windows. And then we change cable cars to the bigger one where we all get in here together and stand. It can hold as many as 80 people. And then we change for another time to the 3rd cable car. This is a rotating gondola. We're not in the gondolas of Venice anymore. This is the gondolas floating over the Alpine glaciers, getting up into the snow zone. And then as we get to the top, it's the spectacular payoff that we've come to see, mountains covered with snow. And we stay up here for about 1 hour. It's enough to walk around, have a look, take our pictures. You take 3 different cable cars to get up there, and as you can see, it is well worth it. It's lovely to look at, but really we've come up here to play in the snow. It's summertime, but there's always snow on the top of Mount Titlis because it's a glacier. These mountain peaks range from about 10,000 feet high where we're standing now to as high as 12,000 and 13,000 feet in the far distance. So then you can have a little snowball fight because there's always snow up here on Mount Titlis. It's a glacier. So even throughout the whole summer, there will always be this beautiful blanket of white across the peak of Mount Titlis. We're at about 10,000 feet elevation. It's a very fun half-day excursion. There's also an ice grotto that they've carved right into the glacier so that you can walk around underground in this really pretty place. It's got nice lighting and good handrails and a wooden floor so you're not going to slip, and it's not even that cold, but you're walking through a natural ice box. And there's other activities up on top of Titlis. There's a restaurant, there's also a snack bar, there's gift shops. There's 3 levels in the pavilion up on top of the mountain. And then we continue back down the way we came up. 3 different cable cars to get us back down into the valley bottom, down to the village of Engelberg. And we take the train from there back into Lucerne. It's really a beautiful sight and a lot of fun. It takes about half a day altogether to go up to the top, come back down, and then back into Lucerne. So if you come up in the morning, you can be back down in Lucerne in time for some afternoon shopping. Mount Titlis is 10,500 feet high, which makes it the tallest mountain in this part of central Switzerland. And this means that there's a glacier on top of Mount Titlis all year round, so it's a spectacular sight for us Hawaii people to see.
And what could be better than steaming hot chocolate to warm you up after you've come down from the mountain?
If you'd like a trip that's a little bit closer to town, you can go up Mount Pilatus, which gives you a nice view over Lake Lucerne and down onto the town. And you can see mountain peaks in the distance as well from Pilatus. However, there is generally no snow up there in the summertime. It's only about 7,000 foot elevation. Back into Engelberg, back onto the train, and then it's just that same beautiful scenic 1 hour ride into Lucerne. Doesn't this look lovely? This is the old Swiss house in the heart of Lucerne. And we are now going to present an elaborate dinner for you. In an extended segment, we're going to show you their specialty of the house, along with some of their other dishes. And that specialty is wiener Schnitzel. They use lots of butter, and they use finely pounded meat for the wiener Schnitzel. You've never seen anything quite like this preparation, so we just had to share it with you. And then coming up shortly at the end of the program, we'll show you another Swiss restaurant that has live music. You dip the meat into the egg and then into the breadcrumbs, special breadcrumbs, all special recipes here. Nothing simple. although they make it look pretty simple. It's amazing how they cook it right at your table and put on a show for you at the same time. And there were about 12 of us dining on 2 different tables, and most of us ordered the Wiener Schnitzel, so they had to bring in some extra stovetops to make it all, and somehow it all came off with precision timing. And the meals were all served at the same time. Of course, they have other items on the menu. You could get the fresh fish from the lake, which is quite delicious, and obviously a whole range of typical menu items, continental cuisine. Here's Philip. He is the owner and manager. He's the 3rd generation who has been running the old Swiss house, Philip Buchholzer. He's quite the fellow. He started his restaurant career about 20 years ago, and he graduated from the hotel school in Lausanne and also at Cornell. And he worked for the Oberoi hotels in India and other hotels in Hong Kong and in Europe. Now he's home at the old Swiss house. His father actually grew up upstairs, and still today upstairs they have got a couple of bedrooms and a living room, which they use for special functions, as private dining rooms. The family doesn't live in the old Swiss house any longer. The building was constructed way back in 1859. It's just a few blocks from the Lion Monument. And they serve the Wiener Schnitzel with pasta. You can also get the lake fish served with potatoes. That was light and delicious with lovely herbs and tomato sauce on top. But the Wiener Schnitzel really is the specialty.
Yeah, dig in. No, it's not.
Of course, it's not cheap. The dinner will cost you about $45, and I think you'll find that it was well worth it. They have a great wine collection here as well. Something like 50,000 bottles of wine, including a complete collection of Chateau Mouton Rothschild that goes back nearly 100 years. It's just out of this world. And it tasted so delicious. And then amazingly, we had room for dessert. A great way to finish off our visit to Switzerland.
Beauty with the berries. Look at those pretty berries.
After this wonderful visit to Lucerne, it's time to board the train and head on north to our next destination. Then we have a chance, while waiting at the train station, to pick up some foods, pick up sandwiches, cold cuts, cheeses, drinks, what have you, for the train ride up to Paris. Now let me tell you about our train station techniques.
So we push our bags in the baggage carts down the train platform, and then when we get to the train, and we find that it's easiest if only about 8 people work as the baggage team. So we have inducted 8 volunteers, and they just take the suitcases from the train platform up onto the train. So this is helpful because that means that not every person has to lift their own suitcase up onto the train.
We always travel by first-class rail, and we have seat reservations. Sit back and relax and enjoy this smooth, comfortable ride. Of course, it's perfectly okay to bring your own food and beverages on board the train. They certainly don't mind. They do have a snack car on board, but in this case, it was much better to bring our own food. It was a lot more delicious. So we stocked up back in Lucerne. They have a terrific supermarket takeout. You can get sandwiches and salads of all kinds.
For me.
Or if you're traveling in first class, they have a fairly decent meal service that's available, but it's always more reliable to bring your own food. Traveling by train is much more comfortable than going by a tour bus. You've got a lot of room to stretch out and spread your legs. You can take a stroll. You're watching World Traveler, which is produced by the Hawaii Geographic Society. It's photographed during our regular tours. We travel throughout Europe several times each year on trips that are always open to the public. And we also have trips elsewhere to Canada, the U.S. East Coast, South America, occasionally Asia. You're watching our Rome to London trip, where we started out in Italy, visited Rome, Florence, and Venice. We also organize trips to different parts of Europe, tours of Scandinavia, do a tour of Central Europe that covers Germany and Austria, as well as Budapest and Prague, and all over the world.